Right. Are children more receptive to the ideas of immortality and cryonics than adults?
Oh yeah. I mean, we was discussing if I was going to come, with slides or something, but if I was talking to kids, I would have a lot of pictures, and what I do is I print things off and I laminate them, or I get, I come in with, a bag of probably like 40 to 50 pictures, but I put them by section, and we'll talk about a section at a time. And the kids, they really get into some of the things like the robotic flies and things like that, or the experiments with the rats, where you can tell them which way to move, or some of that, or but also looking at how people have prosthetic arms, and how people have been able to use the implants that are paralyzed to surf on the net and to communicate. And so kids get excited about some of those things. They're also interested in space travel, and we learn, and we do some on astronomy, and I try to convey some of well, when we do nanotech, I'll have a chart about size, and we get smaller than from fly eggs and blood cells and inside the cell, and we look at what nanotechnology could do. But then when we're doing astronomy, I'm trying to give them a sense of the size of the universe and that scale. It's a lot of fun to go over all those topics with kids. And
but do the parents push back? Do the parents say, "My goodness,
yeah.
my child's being taught by this woman who's putting ideas of immortality and life extension into their heads"?
Well, I have
seducing them with robotic flies.
Well, one good friend of mine that Aviana would know, and her 3 children, we made friends because she came to me and said, "Oh my gosh, my daughter was talking to me about getting frozen, and I did an experiment in high school that she had done an experiment with freezing on crickets, and she was interested in it." I mean, so I made a friend that way. I never had, but the UU Church is a very liberal church too. But I've also done classes through, well, it was a charter school in Austin, and I set up a class for the middle schoolers, and then also for the primary kids. It was teaching the future technology. It was a club that they could choose to come into, and I've never had any parents come to me with being upset with something. I did have a story one time where we were looking at evolution, and I have pictures, and one of these showed a picture of sort of like an ape kind of turning into a man, and then that transhumanist, like the question mark, and you've got the robot or something. And I had one little boy that said, "Oh, we didn't come from monkeys," and it was all of a sudden you had the kids, and we had Islam, and we had Christian, and we had some that were like, well, that's just silly. It's like Santa Claus, but I was able to respect that. Well, this is just saying, well, this is a theory, and respect all of the children that are there, and make sure that they're not being mean to each other, and they're not arguing, and that we're going to validate what each one is saying. I mean, that's. So the other one, you can see that, oh, the teacher is agreeing with and what this person's saying and validating them. And I mean, I think that's why, but if I had a parent come to me, I would talk with them about what their issues were. And another thing that I do as a volunteer is I've through the taught our whole lives classes, which is like, if you're not familiar with it, it's human sexuality through, they have all the way from kindergarten up until older adults. And I've taught the kindergarten through 3rd grade, and I've taught the 3rd through 5th, and then there's also middle school and high school. And at the kindergarten level, you just introduce what's, things like what different, kinds of families are, and what my point about this is that we talk to the parents beforehand about what terminology they're comfortable with. what do you want to use the actual words or not? You know, I mean, it's just, and I very, I mean, as a parent, if my child was interested in or upset with something, I mean, I would talk to that teacher, but I feel that I would listen to them and try to incorporate what their concerns were.
Dean, you got a question?
Yeah. What's the political aspect to all of this? Is either the Immortality Institute or any other bodies lobbying politicians either in the US or here or anywhere else? Do we invite science-minded MPs to this, for example, David, as well?
Well, there are some doctors that are members, or we have scientific advisors too at Immortality Institute, and also at Alcor, and on the board of advisors, and then the Society for Venturism. The first thing I would say is that it takes money to lobby effectively, but also you can with letter writing. And so on the one part, Alcor has before used a lobbyist that has, and also Immortality Institute, as I said, it's a place you are active there kind of throughout time, that I've participated in different letter writing campaigns. Like, people will share information if they know about this. There's one scientist who is a doctor who's written some books on life extension and anti-aging, and he'll come in and say, can you write such and such to the people there. I mean, it's one venue for him to communicate with people that will write letters. But I've seen that is going on. There could always be more of it, and part of it is for people to know about where they can be calling or writing or emails, knowing where they can be doing that in an effective manner. And the other is the growth of an organization over time to get the funds where they can put more money into that, some of the professional levels of.
We might come back at the very end of the meeting to discuss some options for activism and outreach. If Darren Reynolds was here, he would talk about some of the contacts he's got inside politics in the UK. The next question was over here.
Actually, thinking about the virtue process of the actual CR, I think when you think about communicating mainstream, something you could do is actually this kind of the movement of the institute. You could also see the learnings that can be that need to be in place for the end goal, which would be extended lifetime. Those learnings could find applications elsewhere. So if you think about the mission of the Immortality Institute also being a virtue process in terms of what is being learned, and those learnings could be applied to immortality or to other areas of life. So for example, nutrition is one area where it seems there's very little research. So what I was wondering is what other areas of research are being conducted or being supported by the Institute, and yeah, that's it.
The research that we've given grants to is in working at different aspects of ending aging, or just ending age-related degeneration, or lowering that amount so people can stay healthier longer. I think that's the first step, is that we'll be able to stay healthier for a longer period, just because that's what we've already been slowly doing. But other than that research,
for example, exercise that makes your body stay younger for longer. So not just specifically looking at, so going straight at the thing of how to extend life, but how to, I don't know, other ways of extending life that aren't just, I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's the fun thing there, is that you have people with a very strong background in one section that are going to be sharing what they've learned. I mean, there's a component of in supplements, but also an exercise, and people that are sharing the new studies or any new news or anything that's come out, or on what the best forms are of.
We've had talks on that in the past here. We might do another one in the future.
But the thing is, learnings from the Institute that could benefit people who aren't interested in immortality as such.